And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our live stream today. We are so glad to share this with you because there's a big launch today, and we have a wonderful expert that's going to join us and talk to us about all the cool things, an incredible communicator. If you listened to our Space for You podcast a few months ago, Rich, my boss, did an interview with Sean, so I think we're actually going to throw that link up here in a little while, so that way you guys can go check it out. So Sean Wilson, how's it going? Thanks for joining us, and we're so happy to have an actual official expert on the show to talk to us today about all the cool things that's going on.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Me doing an interview right before launch, I can't believe I actually accepted this opportunity because launches I get so, I just so intense and I want to listen to the loops, but we're going to have a good discussion. So
I'm excited for it. And what I'm really excited for is that we were talking yesterday and you were telling me some of the cool things that Northrop Grumman does that I had no idea that they did. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to start doing, launches like this, is talking with people that work at the actual company that can tell us a little bit about the missions themselves. And then kind of after the fact, we can talk a little bit more about the upcoming missions that you have, the things that you're involved in that maybe the public doesn't know about, or maybe the public wants to know more about. But before we get to that, I kind of just want to talk in general about the Northrop Grumman organization overall. So we've been very fortunate at the Discovery Center that we have something that you all donated to us, which is the Science on the Sphere Science Center that we have, which is my favorite place in the entire museum. That's actually what made me a volunteer and eventually, now an employee and get to work with the best people in the world. I know that you think the same thing, that you work with the best people in the world. That's the best part about the space industry. We love who we work with. Right. And you were talking about how dedicated and passionate the people you work with are. So I wanted to let you gush a little bit about what you guys do and the folks that you get to work with.
Oh yeah, we have the best team. Our space business, well, I'll back up a little bit. So Northrop Grumman, if a lot of people don't really know who Northrop Grumman is, we're more than the B-21, we're more than bomber. We do so many things. We're a technology company in the aerospace and defense industry. We've got 97,000 employees in all 50 states and like 25 countries all around the world. So the majority of our business is with like the government, Department of Defense, and the intelligence community. But here in the space business, we do national security, we do civil, like with NASA today, and we have commercial customers, and we can do everything from the launch pad to orbit and everything in between. Little small agile space systems or more exquisite things like the James Webb Space Telescope, which we built, which a lot of people may not know. We can do it all. And we've been in this industry for like 60 years since the beginning. And we're doing some really innovative, exciting things, and we're going to be here for years to come. So I love my team. Being a communicator for this organization is kind of a dream come true. It's really like the nice pinnacle of my career. So I'm really happy to be here.
And we're so glad to have you on today to talk about some stuff. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to see in today's mission. So it's NG-15, and 15 stands for something kind of important. So let's talk about that, and then a little bit of a brief overview of the mission itself.
Yeah, so 15, right? So NG-15, that's Northrop Grumman's 15th commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station. So we've done this 14 times before. We're one of only two commercial companies in the world to provide this service to NASA, to the astronauts aboard space station. So our Cygnus capsule, which is the capsule that sits on top of the Antares, it carries more than 8,000 pounds of cargo, I think. A little bit more than 8,000 pounds to the station with this mission. It's going to take Cygnus about 2 days to get there. And once we are there, we'll stay for about 3 months, give or take. And the crew will unpack all of the goodies that we've sent up there for them, and then pack Cygnus back with trash for disposal. But I do want to point out, Cygnus, it's not just a cargo delivery and removal system. It's also a science lab, which is a really cool capability that we can provide customers. We host payloads and experiments both inside and outside of Cygnus. So once our 3-ish month stint is over, Cygnus will depart the station and begin what we call its post-departure mission, where it deploys several CubeSats that are hosted on the outside of the Cygnus via a slingshot or a NanoRacks deployer. It's a really cool opportunity that we provide to get customers access to that environment of space so they can actually do their experiments outside in the space environment. So This particular mission is going to arrive really early in the morning on Monday, February 22nd. If we launch today on time, which fingers crossed, everything looks great, the astronauts will grapple Cygnus around 4:36 in the morning Eastern with the robotic arm with the SSRMS and berth it to the station, and then we begin our stay.
The ISS, for a lot of people that don't know, obviously, if you go to space, like, you can only get so much at a time, and it's something that's really, really important. And sometimes these things, they get backed up, and you don't want to be in an emergency situation. So it's always good that we have these steady launches that are always happening to get the supplies to the astronauts that's needed. So we're very appreciative of what you all are doing today. What I personally love is that you name every Cygnus with a new name, and this one's really personal to me because she's a West Virginia icon, and it's so cool to see that the world has celebrated her now. So let's talk a little bit about how you choose these names, and then what the name for today's mission is.
Sure. So it is our company's tradition to name every Cygnus spacecraft after somebody who's played a pivotal role in human spaceflight. So for this one, we've chosen Katherine Johnson, and we're so honored to recognize her for this mission. So she was selected for her contributions to help launch the first Americans into space, as well as her accomplishments for breaking the glass ceiling as a Black woman in STEM. She really paved the way for a lot of people. It's really interesting. I don't know if you realize that today is the anniversary of the Friendship 7 launch. No. So that was John Glenn's first launch, right?
I did not know that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So 1962 or something like that. So, So the Mercury capsule that he flew in to do that first orbit around the Earth, Katherine Johnson was the one who calculated the orbit and reentry calculations for it. So kind of a serendipitous tie, and we didn't name this in honor to be in sync with that anniversary, but it's really cool that it's syncing up today. So she's definitely an inspiration to me, to so many people, especially women of color. And I'm really proud that our company is recognizing her today and on this mission.
I love it. And, so Katherine Johnson, as from West Virginia, one of those names that we get to highlight when it comes to, aerospace and space, the Chuck Yeagers and her, and, more recently, Emily Calandrelli. So it's super cool to hear her name on, and for her to go to space is just a beautiful thing for me. So really excited about that. So I want to talk a little bit about what's on board. You got a few cool things that I know that we wanted to talk about today. And you actually introduced me to a new term yesterday, that they're on the I believe they're on the outside of the Antares, is our thin sats. I had never heard that term before. So satellites are kind of a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. So I was really interested in talking about that. And I know that there's a few other things too.
Yeah. So Cygnus, it carries supplies for the crew, which is like food and clothes and personal items, et cetera. And it also carries science experiments for research purposes for low Earth orbit. But a few cool things that we're taking up for this mission, one, HP, Hewlett Packard, they're flying up another supercomputer. I think they launched one a few missions back. It's called Spaceborne Computer 2. It's going to stay on board for a couple of years, and that helps them test how these commercial off-the-shelf computers operate in the changing radiation climate on board space station. So another really cool thing, we're launching an industrial crystallization facility for a company called Redwire. And this is a commercial in-space manufacturing facility that actually grows crystals in space. And that's going to help them understand how to improve laser optics here on Earth. So that's one of those direct applications of, what do we do in space, right? So we're doing all this science to help things be better down here on Earth. And that's a direct application. So for these thin sats, which is like, I laugh because it's like thin mints, but thin sats. Shout out to the Girl Scouts. But so Antares is it's carrying it's 30 secondary payloads on, I think, the first stage. So thin sats, it's a STEM program that we work with Virginia Commercial Spaceflight Authority to help children in grades 4 through 12 experience, what it's like to build their own satellites. They work with students in college as mentors, and it helps them go through the whole engineering process and how to build a small satellite, get it integrated into a rocket, We launch it into space, and then they can collect their science. It's actually really cool. We've got students from 70 schools across 9 states for this mission. These ThinSats, they're little. They're like the size of a slice of bread, or like 2 cell phones put together. They're really, really small. But we make them small because it reduced the cost and size requirements of traditional satellites, but still giving these kids an opportunity to explore space.
It's fantastic. And I know we only got you for a few more minutes before the launch. So the last thing I want to talk about is just a general overview of the rocket that we're going to see today and where it is that you're launching from. I know that not everybody, this is a spot that not everybody knows about. Everybody knows about, Kennedy in Florida, launching from Cape Canaveral and that area. But where are you all launching from today, and kind of, what makes this one a special spot?
Yeah, so Antares is our medium class rocket. We actually have other rockets. Fun fact, people may not know that our company was the first to do air-launched rockets. We had rockets called Pegasus that launched underneath the belly of an L-10-11 aircraft. So we pioneered that technology, in the 80s. But Antares, so it's a 2-stage vehicle that provides LEO launch capability for payloads about 8,000 kilos. We developed this rocket in-house and had our first launch back in 2013, and that was a resupply demo mission for NASA under their commercial transportation services agreement to resupply the space station when we had that gap from when the space shuttle program ended until we were able to resupply the station. So we do launch from the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport out at Wallops Island in NASA Wallops Flight Facility. A little bit different than launching down in Florida or launching in California. We are one of 2, I think, launch providers at the Wallops Flight Facility right now. Let's see. One of the cool things about Antares, so we have a late load capability. So, space station is a science platform, right? So we want to be able to provide like the full spectrum of science. And one of the things that Antares can do is a 24-hour late load operation. So it has like a pop top on the fairing where they can open it up and stow cargo 24 hours ahead of the launch, things that are live or time sensitive or things like that. And they can load that just 24 hours before launch, get it all packed in there, and so we're good to go. We're working on another mission later this year. We're slated to launch NG-16 sometime in the summer, I think, and then we're working on NG-17 for early 2022. So we launch on average like twice a year. So yeah, and every launch that we do on Antares is out of Wallops.
Fantastic. Well, we thank you for joining us for now. We're going to have you back on after you get done with all the cool things that you have to do. So I think we'll see you after MECO, right? Which is main engine cutoff for those that don't know. So then we'll bring you back. We'll talk about some of the other cool things that Northrop is up to.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Go Antares. Go Cygnus.
So we're about 8.5 minutes away from launch. So we're going to go ahead and pop that up right now for everybody, let you listen at home. And then we'll be back afterwards to talk a little bit more about all the cool things at Northrop Grumman. So we'll see you then.
Bye.
Inside 7.5 minutes, you're hearing some of those countdown milestones. Internal power has been activated. It'll be switched here shortly for the Antares vehicle. The International Space Station is currently flying 262 statute miles over the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, just east off the coast of Brazil.
And LC, this is top lead, VTSO activation verified.
Copy that lead, check 400, Ops 2, 401, initialize ground ordnance power supplies.
LC Ops 2, ground ordnance power supplies initialized.
Roger that.
Like 1 confirms, ground ordnance power supplies nominal.
Copy like 1, check 402. T-minus 6 minutes. Mark.
Now inside 6 minutes to launch. Again, targeting the beginning of the 5-minute launch window at 12:36 p.m. Eastern Time. Christina Helona, as we enter these final minutes up until launch, any final words before we let you go and follow the operations for launch today?
No, I'm just thankful to be here, and I appreciate the invite, and I'm looking forward to successful launch. Go Antares.
Ops 2, LC, step 404, you go to initiate engine priming at T-minus 5 minutes.
LC Ops 2, engine priming started.
And Ops 1, transfer avionics to internal power.
Avionics, internal power on. External power off.
Now inside 5 minutes to launch, Antares is now switched to internal power. Christina Helona, thanks for joining us today. But of course, she's going to be busy over these next critical milestones here. Now that we're inside 5 minutes and switch to internal power, the next major milestone is coming up just a little over 3 minutes. We'll begin the auto sequence handoff to terminal count. The computers will take over, and Antares will be counting down with those computers automatically to launch, targeting again 12:36 and 49 seconds p.m. Eastern Time.
LC priming verified.
Roger that. MES1, we'll check 412. And we're now in terminal count. Phase 3 dynamic limit will be active at T-minus 3 minutes.
Three minutes and 15 seconds until launch. Terminal count targeting that exact liftoff time, 12:36 and 49 seconds. Tanks will be pressurized at about T-minus 40 seconds, and we'll be counting down to T0. Everything's good for launch today.
Auto sequence start. ODM bus voltages and currents and nominal.
Copy all, like 1. GNC1, step 418, verify ready for nav mode.
LC GNC1, orb nav, ready for nav.
And Ops 2, you go to switch to nav.
LC Ops 2, switch to nav.
Orb nav telemetry verified.
Copy all. Check 419 and check 420. TLM, you can switch link 41 to open loop.
LCTM copy.
Link 41 open.
T-minus 2 minutes on my mark. Mark. T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds. T-minus 1 minute on my mark. Mark. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have engine ignition.
Main engine started. And we have liftoff up in Antares for NG-15 mission, the long flight facility. Engines are at 100%. Attitude, core pressures, and vehicle subsystems are nominal.
The SS Katherine Johnson takes flight on this, the 59th anniversary of John Glenn's Mercury flight, carrying 8,000 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station. Good performance on the first stage so far.
Engines at 100%. All systems nominal. Stage 1 continues. Nominal performance. Engines at 100%. Good core pressures. Engines remain steady. Attitude nominal. Max Q. Attitude nominal.
First stage passing through the area of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket. 90 seconds into the flight. This first stage burns for a little over 3 minutes, 3 minutes 18 seconds until main engine cutoff.
About 90 seconds to stage 1 burnout. Attitude nominal. Engines at 100% and steady. T plus 2 minutes. All subsystems continue in nominal performance. All subsystems are nominal. We'll be ready to shift down to 80% on the engines at 170. Start up slow throttle down.
Throttling down at 3 minutes into the flight. Main engine cutoff coming soon.
Throttle down to 55%. Main engine cutoff.
We have MECO, and Terry's entering into a coast stage. Fairing separation will occur about 30 seconds later. As we lose sight of the vehicle, now switching to animation. Some controlled firings on the interstage of the rocket.
Attitude nominal. Good separation. "20 seconds to stage 2 ignition. All subsystems nominal. Fairing separation. Interstage separation.
Confirmed fairing separation and interstage.
Stage 2 ignition.
Stage 2 ignition confirmed. Stage 2 is a solid rocket motor, burns for about 2 minutes 44 seconds.
Stage 2 will continue to burn for another approximately 2 minutes. Altitude 138 kilometers. Mission time, 300 seconds. Velocity, 4.8 kilometers per second. Altitude, 150 kilometers. All systems continue to perform nominally.
Good calls, 5 minutes 15 seconds into today's flight.
Stage 2 motor pressure, nominal. Attitude nominal. Altitude is 170 kilometers, roughly 1 minute to stage 2 burnout. All stage 2 and GNC parameters continue to be nominal.
6 minutes 15 seconds into the flight, coming up on stage 2 burnout of that solid rocket motor. That'll initiate a 2-minute coast period until second stage separation.
Stage 2 starting to tail off. Roughly 15 seconds to burnout. Stage 2 burnout. Attitude nominal.
Stage 2 burnout, good attitude. We're in a coast period now. Cygnus exposed after that fairing separation, and will continue to carry the second stage with it until about 9 minutes into the flight.
Attitude nominal. Attitude nominal. Expected attitude control system thruster firings received. Continuing on course. Roughly 1 minute to payload separation. Altitude 185 kilometers. Velocity 7.5 kilometers per second. All systems continue to operate as expected. Approximately 30 seconds to spacecraft separation. Attitude nominal. Systems continue to perform as expected. Attitude corrections maintaining expectations.
LCGSO, I just released red team to the pad.
Copy that.
Spacecraft separation.
Confirmed. 9 minutes into today's flight, Cygnus has separated from the second stage.
LC Ace, that concludes our callouts.
Copy that, Ace. Okay, NG-15, excellent job today. Let's go ahead and wrap up through this post-launch checklist. And Prop 1, can you report on status of pulse purging?
Pulse purging has just started.
Copy that. We'll check 430. And GNC1LC, when you have the Antares state factor to the Cygnus POC emailed and confirmed, give me a call back on step 431.
Copy and work.
From the Wallops Range Control Center in Wallops Island, Virginia, some celebratory fist bumps as they successfully delivered Cygnus into orbit, a 9-minute flight on top of Antares from Virginia Space's Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport into orbit. Cygnus now flying free. The SS Katherine Johnson in flight will make its 1.5-day journey, just a little shy of 2 days, to the International Space Station, arriving in the wee hours early morning on Monday, February 22nd.
Rotated, arm enable indication no longer illuminated.
Copy that, Ops 1. And Ops 1, disable your local launch enable button.
Ops 1, launch enable removed.
Flight controllers in Dulles, Virginia, Northrop Grumman's Mission Operations Center will take control of the Cygnus and monitor its approach to the International Space Station over the next couple of days. Solar array deployment coming in a couple of hours. Will be breaking before that, and we'll provide confirmation of that via our blog and social media. Before we depart with you today for our coverage of the launch of Northrop Grumman's CRS-15 mission to the International Space Station, we're bringing on Deputy Manager of the International Space Station Program, Kenny Todd, on with us to provide some remarks. Kenny, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Gary. Good morning. It's good to be with you.
Kenny, this launch comes ahead of a crew rotation and, of course, in the near term, some EVAs. From the perspective of the International Space Station Program, what is the significance of this mission, CRS-15?
Well, Gary, I mean, this particular mission has about 8,000 pounds of cargo coming to the space station. And, roughly a third of it is going to be dedicated directly to utilization and science on board the station. And so, again, that's our bread and butter. That's what we're up there to do is really do the utilization and science that our commercial customers need, the things that we need to learn in order to go further into our solar system, our human research. And so we've got a lot of this flight that's dedicated to that kind of activity. In addition to that, we've got a little over a third of it that's dedicated just to basic vehicle systems maintenance hardware and some new technology that we're bringing on board. So again, as we look to go further away from low Earth orbit, the thing that we have to do is continue to learn, about the systems that we're going to need, and the ISS provides a great platform for that. So we are launching some new hardware in the vehicle systems area that allow us to demonstrate some of this technology and ensure that it'll be there for us when we need it in the future. But then, as always, these Cygnus flights are very important to us because they bring up a lot of crew supplies as well. They are a workhorse when it comes to to making sure that we keep our crews sustained on orbit with the different consumables that they need. So again, a very important flight for us, and we're glad to see it off the ground and on the way to station.
Off the ground and on the way to station on time, Kenny. This is coming right on the heels of Texas having some severe winter weather. Now, how were International Space Station operations?
Alrighty, we had a bit of, looks like we got like a bit of an issue. I don't know if that's on my side or that's coming through the YouTube channel or what, but awesome launch. Everything, as we shared a little bit ago, went nominally. That's always a good thing to hear for you. So you feel a little bit less nervous now that it's all over?
It's not all over though. There's still so much left to do. You know, we've got to deploy the solar arrays, and that takes, it's not going to happen for probably another 2 hours, 2.5 hours and some change. And then we've got to orbit a couple times and catch up with the ISS and then dock. So it's not over yet. Definitely the smoke and the flames and the scary parts are over, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Well, it was a great launch. It looked like it was a good clear day, and I know that DC and Houston and all over really has been dealing with a lot of crazy snow issues, even especially for them, especially for Texas. So we do hope all of our friends down south are doing well, at least south from me. I'm in Colorado, so hopefully they're all doing well. So again, great stuff. So as we wrap up the launch coverage really for today, I want to talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that you all are doing. So you mentioned James Webb Space Telescope earlier today, and that's very close to my heart. I was nerding out about it on Thursday, kind of had to reel myself back in because we were talking about perseverance, right? But it's I get off on that subject and I love it, and it's one that I can talk about forever. So let's talk a little bit about everything that Northrop Grumman had to do with James Webb Space Telescope.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I can get into everything, but
in a few minutes.
I'm a James Webb expert, so I'll give you like the 2-second elevator speech.
That works.
Yeah, so James Webb is really cool, and I don't know if you've got a chance to see it. I mean, it's
not in person, not yet. No.
Oh my gosh! So I got to see it. When was that? I guess 2019, because we didn't get to travel anywhere last year. So I actually got to go out to our facility in Redondo Beach, which is in the LA area, and see it in the clean room. And I tell you what, it's breathtaking. So over my career, I've had the privilege of seeing multiple shuttle launches, multiple rocket launches, pieces of the space station in the clean room in Florida. But seeing Webb was just like a life-changing event. It's going to be such cool science when we get this thing off the ground later this year. When the first science comes back, you know, if you're not familiar with what James Webb Space Telescope is doing, you know, it's going to peer over 13.5 billion years back in time to see the first light after the Big Bang. And it's going to show us how the first stars and galaxies were formed and help us hunt for exoplanets and other habitable planets. So it's going to kind of, it's like a time capsule, right? Traveling back in time to show us where we came from, and where we can potentially go. It's just the coolest thing. And I'm so proud that our company has taken such a prominent role in integrating and building this vehicle, this spacecraft.
I love it. And let me actually upload a photo of it real quick so everybody can just see the size of this thing. It's absolutely massive. And I don't know exactly which team this is. I think this is the NASA team with it, but just look at the amount of people that are surrounded, have surrounded this thing. And look at that. That's absolutely that's
a full scale model. Mm-hmm.
That's the full scale, right?
Yeah.
And it's just it's incredible to see. I can't wait. I know that it's been a couple of years that they've had pushback for certain things, but it really looks like we're going to launch it later this year. There's a lot of things that have been kind of been held up a little bit. That this year it looks like it's going to be their year. So
it does. We're looking at a Halloween launch, which is really cool.
Yeah.
For all reasons. So it's going to launch out of French Guiana. It's going to get on a barge and go through the Panama Canal and go around. It's
awesome.
It's so cool.
So, Rich, I know you're listening. So, I will be in French Guiana on Halloween this year. I'll be live covering that for us. So, I just want to go ahead and let you know that I'll be there for that. I don't want to let you down. Got to make sure we got somebody there.
You better book a room early.
I was to say, better go ahead and get the room now, right? So we'll start looking at that. I'll send you some hotel rooms, Rich, that I'll be in. So you do some really cool stuff. You are the only ones, I believe, you said that do satellite servicing, and you have done it. You've docked 2 satellites in space. Is that right? That sounds crazy. How do you test? How do you know you can do that?
Oh, it's the craziest thing. Like, so my background, I started out as a satellite operator in the Air Force. So I did nice. GPS operations when GPS was not even open to the public in like the early 90s. Yeah. And so satellites are near and dear to my heart. So when I found out that we were basically breathing life into zombie satellites in space, it's like, what the heck is this? This is the coolest thing I've ever heard. But last year, it was right about, I think this time, February timeframe last year, we did something nobody else has ever done. We demonstrated that you can use a spacecraft to extend the life of another spacecraft in orbit with our mission extension vehicle. It's a really cool technology. We can dock to another spacecraft, to a client satellite, and attach a jetpack to them and add propulsion and attitude control, the things that they might need if everything is otherwise working just swimmingly on the satellite, but maybe they've run out of fuel or something like that, or they're drifting a little bit and they need a little help. We can provide that assistance. And we're the only ones who have actually demonstrated that in orbit. And it's really cool. We're going to be docking our second one here fairly soon. So keep an eye on the news cycle so you can see us making history again with our second MEV. But we're also working on another iteration of the technology called mission robotics vehicles. And that's going to use smaller pods that can attach to satellites with like a robotic arm. And that is really cool. We're already under contract with DARPA to demonstrate these robotic satellite servicing capabilities. I can't give you a timeline for when all that's going to go down, but I expect, in the next year or two, we'll see some more news about that. And then what's really cool is tying it back to today's mission. So the commercial resupply services that we've done with Cygnus, that ability to rendezvous and dock in orbit is really laying the groundwork for our company's expertise in this autonomous approach and docking of spacecraft in orbit. So it all kind of goes full circle.
But it's incredible. And so the last thing I want to talk to you about that you all are working on, that again people may not know, is obviously there's a billion moving parts to Artemis, and you all have your hand in a few of those. So kind of want to talk about that, your involvement with Artemis Gateway, I believe, is part of that. Mm-hmm. And I know that there was you're also working with Blue Origin with the national team. So let's dive into that and talk a little bit about just the overall works that you're doing over at Northrop. For Artemis.
Yeah, so Artemis, if you're not familiar with Artemis, right, that's NASA's program to take the first woman and next man to the lunar surface and beyond, eventually to Mars. We're really proud to be a part of this program. We're applying our expertise in several different elements to NASA's Artemis program. One thing is our twin solid rocket boosters are going to be providing nearly 80% of the thrust needed for the SLS rocket to escape Earth's gravity. So I joke that they're not going anywhere without Northrop Grumman, which is kind of true, kind of funny, but true anyway. So those boosters are actually derived from the ones that we had for the space shuttle program. It's modernized, tested and innovated for lower weight and a lot of new technologies for the current times, but it's flight proven technology that we had done for 35 plus years for space shuttle. We're also working on the Orion spacecraft, so that's the human launch vehicle for Artemis. Yeah, so we provide the launch abort system. So if you remember, space shuttle didn't have a way for the crew, really a safe way for the crew to escape if there was something going awry during launch, right? So Orion capsule, the capsule like this, and it has a rocket that's on the top, and we provide that launch abort system that'll actually ignite and pull the capsule away to safety and keep the astronauts safe and out of harm's way if something does happen, a contingency happen on launch. So we're really proud to provide that system. So Halo, yes. So the Habitation and Logistics Outpost. So it's a Cygnus-derived vehicle, and it's going to be deployed in lunar orbit, and that's the first crew module of NASA's Lunar Gateway, and that's going to be a space station that orbits the moon to provide support for long-term human exploration of the lunar surface, kind of like a floating hotel where they can hang out and get acclimated and do their science and rest up before they go to the lunar surface to do more work. In addition to Halo, like you said, we're also working with Blue Origin. We're on their national team, and we're providing the transfer element vehicle, and that brings the landing system down towards the moon. So it is another Cygnus-derived module. So we're getting a lot of use out of this technology.
Cygnus, I was going to say Cygnus can do anything, it seems. Yeah,
it's great. And another thing that you may not know, so Cygnus, it's the actual module itself is built by Thales Alenia, and it's the same thing. It's the same vehicle as the MPLMs on space station, the multi-purpose logistics modules.
Okay.
So it's the exact same thing. We've just extended it a little bit, and then we add a pressurized power module to the back. So that Cygnus cargo module is like a full service system, right? So other than that, we do a lot of really cool space programs for the DoD and the intelligence community that I really can't talk about.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know, but it's great work, and it's such a great place to work. And if anybody who's listening is really interested in learning more about what we do, or even working with Northrop Grumman, we're hiring like mad across the country. Our space business is booming, no pun intended. So, check out northropgrumman.com/careers and, find your next dream job, just like I did. Very cool.
Throw that up so that way people can, and you said /careers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to stream that across the bottom of the screen for everybody so that way they can check it out, and check them out on social media. And again, that it's not something that you hear that people say that they're hiring all across, the nation. So if you're in the industry, and it sounds like you all are hiring in all kinds of different positions. So everybody go check that out. Sean, it's been wonderful to have you today. Actually have somebody on board to really share the behind the scenes of, what you're all up to, the pieces of the mission, and then all the great things that you are up to in the future. And especially it looks like a really big year for you all.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So we've got an MEV docking. We've got James Webb launch. We're hopefully SLS is going to launch later this year. So a lot of really cool things. Yeah.
Well, we're going to keep watching. Maybe hopefully we can get to that one in 2022. We'll see about maybe this summer. If the summer is, we're all hoping for the vaccines to get out there as soon as possible, and for this to kind of to shrink up a little bit on all the craziest. But maybe next year at the latest in 2022 we get to come out and see you in the DC area.
Yeah, come on out, because I want to get back to a launch too. I miss being there and feeling all of it and being there in the middle of the excitement. So yeah, happy to have you out anytime.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Do not forget that at the Space Foundation Discovery Center all day, we are celebrating perseverance. So come out. There's a lot of activities to do. It is COVID safe. We've got all the social distancing in place. So come out and see everybody. We're open until 4 today. I'm already getting pictures from our curator of all the people that are out there having fun. So go join them. I'm probably going to stop by and say hello myself. So I'll see you all there, and thank you for joining us today. We'll see you on the next big launch. I don't even know what it is, but we'll make sure you get details.